People, we're back in Portsmouth, and this week we've got CP Robinson of Portsmouth Pride.
It's not the name I was born with, it's not the name that I was given by my family. CP is then the nickname that people started to give me, and then the nickname that I would give back to people as this is my name, but if you want to use a shortened version of my name, you can call me CP. The work that Portsmouth Pride's campaign Queer All Year did over the 3-4 years that it was running, it finished in November last year, that built a bigger queer community, or built the structure for a bigger queer community to exist in. The rainbow flag has always been the symbol. Portsmouth Pride uses 8 colours in our rainbow. Richard of York gave battle in vain, 7. We'd planned a programme of activities, 25 activities through the year, 25 in 25. We ended up delivering over 50 because people across the community took us seriously when we said, if you want to be part of UK Pride, do it. That connectivity is now what's going to see us through the next 3, 5, 10 years in Portsmouth that we wouldn't have had we not hosted UK Pride.
Cool. Well, CP.
Like you want like Parkinson music or something, don't you? You want like do. Oh, that's Mastermind.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Do. No. Not watch Mastermind. Okay.
I did used to watch Mastermind. Oh no. That's funny. Alright, cool. Well, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the Pride office.
Thank you. As I was saying before, I've never been in here.
I know, but you've been up here loads.
Yeah. And I've walked to the end, I was next door with Carl, and but now we're here. We're here.
Loads of us up here.
Yeah, I know. So, welcome to the show. The show is shine a lot on people doing things in communities, and you yourself are spearheading the movement for the Pride community in Portsmouth. So we're going to go a bit into that today.
Fun.
So, first of all, before I start, a little introduction. And that is, instead of me giving you an introduction, I'll just give it straight over to you. So, who in a nutshell is CP Robinson?
Ooh. So, yes, I'm CP Robinson. I'm the current chair of Portsmouth Pride. So, even though, yes, I have this reputation across the city and this like image and persona across the city of running Portsmouth Pride, I don't. I sit in the chair's seat at board meetings, and there's about 50 volunteers that actually run Portsmouth Pride and actually make it all turn. But yes, I chair the board and ran our UK Pride work, so that's why people kind of know my face.
Interesting. So, who runs it then? That's my first question.
There's a core team of volunteers, so everybody's a volunteer at Portsmouth Pride. Absolutely everybody. We have no paid staff. We don't pay anybody to do any of our Portsmouth Pride work. There's a core team of volunteers. I used to sit in that core team, so I used to be one of the people running it and doing the stuff. They run our like community events through the year, and our projects, our programs, and our marketing, and our fundraising, and health and safety, and our volunteer management, all that sort of stuff. Then there's everybody else. There's all of the other volunteers that are just involved, and they're a community, and they're a bit of a family, and we have socials for them, and then we'll give them projects, and they'll say, I really want to get involved in that because I've either got skills in that, experience in that, or an interest in that. And that's how they can then get involved in loads of different projects through the year. And and one of those projects is the main day event, so the big thing that happens on South Sea Common that kind of people know that's what Pride looks like, but actually it's loads of programs through the year. Nice. Yeah, all run by volunteers.
Wow. Yeah, that's I want to say rare. That's quite rare in Portsmouth and the third sector in general. You usually get someone who's paid, and then you sort of trickle it down. But fascinating. Yeah. So, burning question I have is, obviously you introduce yourself as CP, but does CP stand for anything?
No, it doesn't. I like that this is a question. This is a good question. I can post this somewhere on LinkedIn and be like, right, people, stop asking me. It's not the name I was born with. It's not the name that I was given by my family. So I used to go by a different name, the name that I had from birth, and my first name was a long name. And what happens when you have a long name as a first name, people want to shorten it. I didn't like the short version of my name. My family didn't like the short version of my name. Nobody called me the short version of that name. But people want to do it. If you're a Jonathan, people automatically just call you John. If you're an Alexander, people call you Alex. It just happens. So CP is then the nickname that people started to give me, and then the nickname that I would give back to people as this is my name, but if you want to use a shortened version of my name, you can call me CP. And it just kept going from there, and then that kind of started to take over my like named identity as well, and more people knew me as CP than as my name, and gradually that really flipped to the point that nobody even knew I had a different name, and Robinson is my mum's maiden name. So I've still got both of my family names in my name, CP Robinson, but not the name that I was given by my family initially. So I'm still connected to both sides of my family through my name, and it's not a gender marker. It's not like trans and non-binary people that will change their name to better reflect their identity from a gender marker, but it is a name that I use that better reflects my identity as a person.
Wow.
There you go.
That's fascinating. So do you use like your birth name on paperwork and stuff?
Yeah, so I call it my government name.
Your government name?
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing that it's on is like my doctor's record, my bank, like insurances and things. I want to go through the point of depolling and changing it legally, and I've started the process a few times. It can be really easy to do the depol thing, and it is really easy. You can just do it and be done with it, but then you've then got to go through the process of changing everything else. So I then have to change the NHS stuff and change the bank stuff, and every time I get round to thinking of doing it, there's always something that I booked in my government name that then would mean that would get a bit tricky. Like I was going through a divorce, and then I was buying a house, and then I was doing power of attorney for my parents, and then I'd booked flights, and you can't change it while you're in all of those processes. So I will get there eventually. It will happen. So yeah, that's the only name that most people know me by.
Interesting. So going back to where you grew up then, Are you from Portsmouth?
No.
Yeah, so where's the accent?
Well, what do you think the accent is?
I don't know. I feel like I'm taking a shot here. I feel like it's up north a bit.
Well, I mean, more north than
Midlands?
Portsmouth. Yeah, Midlands.
Wolves?
Other side.
Ah.
Yeah. So I grew up in Solihull, which is a suburb of Birmingham.
Okay.
But I don't have, viewers may disagree, I don't think I have a Brummie accent. I definitely don't have a Black Country accent, which would be Wolves, Walsall, Dudley. It's weird. My sister has a really strong Brummie accent, but Brummie is different to Black Country, so the accents are different. I worked and kind of grew up around people that didn't have accents or had quite neutral accents. My sister grew up around people that had really strong accents and like worked around people with really strong accents, so she picked it up and I didn't. So some friends actually met my sister. She always comes down for Portsmouth Pride every year. And some friends had met her and we'd gone for dinner together, and just like midway through the meal, my friend Fleur, she just went, "Why aren't your accents the same?" It's like, oh yeah, that's why. It comes out if I'm drunk or if we're somewhere really loud and I have to shout. More Brummie comes out. But that's why I do Bath, Grass, Path. I'm not a Bath, Grass, Path. No, short A's.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, cool. You grew up in Solihull.
Yeah.
What's it like growing up in the Midlands? I'm from London, so I don't grow up in the Midlands. Because you're obviously in Portsmouth now. So
yeah.
How did you end up in Portsmouth?
I really liked, so Birmingham was our nearest city. It was about 10 miles away. So it really was like suburb life. Like we had our own like town centre. Suburbia is suburbia. You know, middle class family, standard, normal. Exactly what you'd expect from that. Studied in Birmingham in the city centre. I was always involved kind of like culturally, creatively. I grew up with a lot of music in my life. I sang with the City Birmingham Symphony Chorus for a time, so classical music, singing. We had the Welsh National Opera in Birmingham, we had the Birmingham Royal Ballet, we had some great theatres. Loved that world. Moved away from Birmingham when I was 20, like very early 20s. Went down to Somerset with a partner that I was with at the time, then came down to Portsmouth region, went back to Somerset, came back again. We did that kind of like bounce around a little bit during my 20s. First time we were even near Portsmouth is where I first met people. It was through the street art community in Portsmouth is how I met the queer community in Portsmouth, and then was like, these are my people. These are my people. This is who I need to to be around. So we then moved back to Somerset, and then knew that we'd come back to Portsmouth again at some point. So it was in that coming back that I was like, right, I don't want to be off the island now. I need to be on the island. I need to be as near to these people as possible, because there'd be events in Southsea that we'd come over to from like Gosport on Solent Way, that you either had to drive and then it was really difficult to get back, or you had to try and get like taxi to do anything, and it was horrendous. I was like, no, be on the island, which we were. That relationship then ended, but by that point I'd grown so much in Portsmouth through that community and getting to know people. It was that community that introduced me to the people at Portsmouth Pride to get involved there and started working with them, that by the time that relationship ended, I'd kind of metaphorically peed on the city and was like, my city, this is mine, leave. And thankfully that person's not in the city, because I was like, this is my city. And I went from, I suppose I'd never even visited Portsmouth until I moved here. Like, never visited, no concept. Like, Midlands families don't go on holiday to the south coast. We go to Devon, or you go to like mid Wales. Those are your coasts that you'd go to. I went from not really knowing it to then working and living in the city, working for a charity with Portsmouth in the title, volunteering for a charity with Portsmouth in the title, volunteering and or doing activities for loads of other organisations and groups that all have Portsmouth in the title. Just kind of became, as Kat Askew says, big name in Portsmouth.
Yeah, BNIP. There you go. Love it. So, wow, Portsmouth welcomed you. Love that. Yeah, I think everyone I've spoken to who isn't from Portsmouth has had a similar connection to it in a way.
It's a really easy place to find your people and then go, yep, that's where I need to be.
So what then did you do? So are you a volunteer as well?
With Pride?
Yes.
Yes, everybody is. So I started volunteering through, weird story. Samo was doing a project years ago during COVID. Must have been during COVID. No, just before. Around that time, called I Exist. It was this series of 50 self-portraits that he'd drawn of himself through his transition and his life, and then portraits of other trans people in the community, called I Exist. I came on board with that project team to help him build some partnerships and make sure that he was actually making some money off the project. It's how he got involved in being a BTEC ambassador and going back into colleges and that education route. So I was involved with him on that project. He knew Tally, another BNIP, another big name in Portsmouth is Tally. He knew Tally and got me talking to her. I did corporate partnerships for charities at the time. That's what I did. I connected the charity that I was working for, or any charity, to big businesses to get money and volunteering support and all the other great stuff that comes along with that. So that's what I came into Portsmouth Pride to do, was to look at the partnerships team and go, these are the partners that we've currently got. This is where we want to get to. How do we grow that program? Which we did. We brought some really good names on board with Portsmouth Pride. We brought on people like Liquid Friday, and we brought on people like Victorious as some of our bigger partners. We really grew that program to the point that it was decent money for Portsmouth Pride, and it was a bit more sustainable, and it was a bit more meaningful than just sponsorship. It's not sponsorship. We don't do sponsorship. We don't just take your money to give you a benefit like you would pay somebody to do some marketing for you. We don't do that transactional thing. It's commitment through the year. It's commitment to our entire program, everything that we do as a charity. So that's how I got involved with the charity. I thought I can volunteer some of my time. I then joined the board of trustees from there. At the time, our board of trustees was all made up of people that volunteered for us. Once you'd volunteered, you could then apply to be on the board of trustees. I joined the board. I became the vice chair. We decided to go and bid to be UK City of Pride in 2025. We were doing the bid in 2023. I led that bid. We won the bid. I then led the funding, the big funding bids to deliver UK Pride, and then was kind of the UK Pride lead for Portsmouth Pride in kind of coordinating everything that was going on and overseeing it all. And then that ended not very long ago, back end of 2025, with all of the delivery, by which point I was then chair of the board.
Okay.
Yeah. Weird journey.
No, you're here. That's fascinating. So, okay then. So, let's go on to identity then.
Uh-huh.
So we're moving on. So, how do you identify?
As a queer man.
And what is a queer man?
Interesting. We spent loads of time doing this through our Portsmouth Pride work, and it was partly, I suppose, linked to my journey of identity at the time as well. Portsmouth Pride used to have a campaign called Queer All Year. We used the word queer quite prominently through this campaign, but the words queer and LGBTQ+ are not synonymous. They're not exactly the same thing,
Okay.
but they kind of are. The Venn diagram of queer people and LGBTQ+ people crosses over hugely. There's a lot of people that are queer that identify as part of the LGBTQ+ community. There's a lot of LGBTQ+ people who use the word queer as a self-determining, identifying word. Great. But there's people in the outsides of both of those. So there are queer people that don't necessarily identify as part of the LGBTQ+ community. And that's quite tricky sometimes for people to get their head around. But think of people that, for their own misfortune, are born cisgender and heterosexual. What a disappointing life it must be for them. No, I jest. There are people that are born cisgender heterosexual that are then parenting their children without the social constructs of gender and or sexual orientation as part of their identity markers. There are people that are queer parenting. There are people out there in the world that are living a queer lifestyle, but they can't help the fact that they were born cisgender and heterosexual. None of us can change the way we see our internalized sense of gender, and none of us can change our sexual orientation. So if they are in any part of their life actively championing the queer world, which is breaking down those social constructs of gender and or sexual identity, and you want to use the word queer, then use it. There's also people in the other side of that Venn diagram that are LGBTQ+, but don't like the word queer and wouldn't use it to define themselves. So that's what queer means to me. It's beyond a sexual attraction or a gender identity. It's both and more. It kind of means something bigger than both.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what does the Q stand for in LGBT?
Can also mean queer, but you don't have to define as everything in the acronym to be part of the bigger acronym. So the LGBTQ+ community is one big compound noun phrase that people could identify as part of. So you might be a bisexual man, but you don't identify with the word queer. You're still part of the LGBTQ+ community, even if you aren't the Q. Like, I'm part of the LGBTQ+ community, even if I don't identify with the T. I'm not trans. So it's still... Some people think it means questioning, and you can play around with that. There's no one answer. Same as the plus. It can mean anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that LGBTQ+ is it's like an umbrella term in a way.
Really big umbrella term, which is why the plus is important as well, because otherwise you keep adding letters, which happens, and in different parts of the world they use different acronyms because it means something different for them. But yeah, LGBTQ+ is the generally accepted UK version of the term. It's odd now in the UK to see LGBT and not Q+.
That is fascinating. Why would you say it's rare?
LGBT is an umbrella term, but a limited umbrella term. It's a small umbrella. It's one of the little ones that you put over a dog or something. LGBT is lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. So any other identities aren't included in that specifically. They might be by broader association of the LGBT community. LGBT. Like, as part of the broader community, other people might have felt included in that, even if they didn't identify with those specific markers, like asexual, agender, demisexual, which is part of the asexual spectrum, might have felt part of that, but that's where the Q+ comes in. So queer or questioning, depending on where you put that word, and the plus to be all-encompassing. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually answered the question that I had. I've always been like, I'm confused because I've asked that question before. What does queer mean? And I'm still questioning. So there we go.
Yeah.
Interesting. So okay, so how then is, in your opinion, the queer community and the wider LGBTQ plus community accepted in Portsmouth?
I think we're so much more visible as a broad community, and let's split those two into the two because I think it's important to talk about both. The LGBTQ plus community is really big in Portsmouth, but it's also important to say we're not one social group. All 8 to 10,000 of us, based on the last census, don't all know each other. We're not all part of, we don't all go to the same events, and it's just not what happens. We're a demographic makeup of the city, so LGBTQ plus people are everywhere across the city, working in every industry, taking every role in life, absolutely everywhere. Different parts of the city have a different level of acceptance at the moment. I don't think that's different for LGBT people, LGBTQ plus people, queer people, refugees, people of global majority heritage, people with visible disabilities, the elderly, people on low socioeconomic communities. There's just a broader acceptance in some areas of the city to others. Visibility is massively helped by organisations like Portsmouth Pride that give people those spaces to come together. The queer community is largely then centred around the south of the city and the university. So lots of university students would identify with the word queer, lots of younger people identify with the word queer, and through the work that Portsmouth Pride's campaign Queer All Year did over the 3-4 years that it was running, it finished in November last year, that built a bigger queer community, or built the structure for a bigger queer community to exist in, so then people could build their own social connection. It's not for any organisation like Portsmouth Pride, Queer All Year, anybody working in LGBT spaces, to be the crutch for everybody to hang their social life and their connection and their identity and their visibility on. You've got to, as an adult navigating the world, work out how you build your own social connections. And we were trying to be the facilitator of that connection, but not the facilitator of every single activity.
That makes sense. So, since being the UK City of Pride in 2025, how would you say anything's changed? How would you say that? What have you seen?
Really important thing of UK Pride is that it's not important that it happened, but in the grand scheme of things, it is not important that UK Pride happened in Portsmouth in 2025. It's important what it left here now in 2026 and beyond. It's important what it did to us rather than the fact that it happened. I was so surprised and really heartwarmingly surprised by the amount of people that got behind the campaign, because it was a year-long campaign. It was January the 16th, 2025, I think, that we started the campaign at the Shaping Portsmouth conference. We dropped the giant flag, and that was the daytime event, and then the evening event was a drag show called Cherry's Big Opening, which people didn't see the irony in the name. Odd. All the way through the year. We'd planned a programme of activities, 25 activities through the year, 25 in 25. I like wordplay and synergy and portmanteau and anything that we can kind of get in there. We ended up delivering over 50 because people across the community took us seriously when we said, you don't need our permission to do something for UK Pride. If you want to be part of UK Pride, whether you're a small business, an independent sole trader, a big heritage venue, an enormous community group, whatever, do it. You don't need our permission, you don't need our funding. We'd love to know about it. We'll add it all into the same calendar. We want to make sure this is all captured and we get the impact, but you don't need our permission to do this. If you'd wanted to go around the city doing a series of interviews with LGBTQ plus people off the city and calling it part of the UK Pride interview series, you could have done, you didn't need our permission to do that. Over 50 projects happened across the city because we just let people do their thing, and people would come to us with their ideas and go, we want you involved in this, but we're going to run it and we're going to fund it and we're going to sort everything. We just want you involved in some way. That connectivity is now what's going to see us through the next 3, 5, 10 years in Portsmouth that we wouldn't have had we not hosted UK Pride.
Yeah, because Yeah, the event was massive. The event was absolutely humongous, and the march, and it was cool. It was really cool.
Yeah, that's the day. Yeah,
that is the day.
And then there's the programme.
Yeah.
And this is where we're moving to as Portsmouth Pride. I think it's fair to say that before COVID, definitely the majority of the work was the main day. We call it the main day event, MDE. That's what we call it. That would have been the majority of the work. Post-COVID, it was still a large chunk of the work, but we were doing more and more through the year with the community, especially through things like the Queer All Year campaign and other stuff that we were doing. Now, post-UK Pride, we need to start shifting that balance even further so that our resource, whether that's our people or our money, is going on year-round, intentional, sustainable, impactful, connected community programming, as well as then celebrating all of that at a big main day event, which is a cultural festival for the entire city.
So how would you say that's going so far? I mean, I know we've just started the year, but how would you say that's going?
Yeah, so 2025 was a test of all of that, and it was relatively balanced. Like I say, 50-odd programmes, and some of those were enormous. It was over 5,000 people that got involved in the programmes through the year, and about 14,000 that came to the main day. So if you look at our kind of like attendance and impact, about a quarter of the people that we worked with were through the year-round programme, and about 3/4 of the people we worked with were through the main day. The money is a split as well, but the impact that we have is greater on the year-round work, I think, than it is on the main day. The main day is impactful, but it's celebratory, it's one day. The rest of the work is where the impact on the community really comes from.
Yeah, I can see that. It's those little small groups and those smaller discussions where you can actually go into the nitty-gritty. I get it. So you said that it's only certain parts, like the south of the city, and other parts aren't so accepting of minority groups in general. In your opinion, why?
Ooh. For some LGBTQ plus people, it's a risk of being outed. And by outed, I mean other people disclosing your sexual orientation or your gender identity when you don't want them to. You've not said that that's an okay thing to do. We actually did some work on this. We, as a charity, post-COVID, got criticised, rightly so, for being South Sea-centric. We were a South Sea-centric organisation. A good chunk of our trustees and our team lived in South Sea. Lots of our activities happened in South Sea. We used to do like a Pride's Got Talent event at the Wedgwood Rooms, and this was kind of before I was involved, and we'd do a Battle of the Bands, and that was also somewhere along Albert Road, and then Pride happened in South Sea, and the march was in South Sea, and any of the social events were in South Sea. Part of that's just because of where those things are. Like, the city's only LGBTQ plus venue, HB, is in the south of the city. It's not in South Sea. It depends where you draw your boundaries, but a lot of the work is down here. We were rightly so criticised when we were doing more community work that we were still putting things at Aspects and in the historic dockyard and at Coast Guard Studio. We were still very south. So we went, fine, let's do some work in the north of the city. Let's put some of our craft workshops and our flag making things in the heart of Buckland, and we would hire school sports halls out to do some of these workshops in, and we went off the island, and again hired like community centres and started working with groups, because we knew people lived in those areas of the LGBTQ plus community. We'd already done some work gathering that data through giving out like free sticker slap packs. If people filled in surveys so that we could capture some of that data, we would send them stuff so we knew their postcode. So we'd done this work on like where these people are. We knew the audiences existed. We put work on in some of those areas, and we put sustained work on, and the social media engagement was high, and we knew we were reaching people from those areas with that social media, because at the time you could still do quite targeted geographical social advertising. We knew it was getting to those areas, and then nobody attended. We would capture data on these funded programs when people were coming to the workshops, coming to these events. Nobody from the local areas attended. It was all people that were part of the community but living in the south of the city travelled out because they wanted to come and do a thing. So we did more work on that same thing and went, why aren't people wanting to come to these things? And mostly it was younger people living in those areas of the city, living with family. People living by themselves, people living with friends, people at university weren't living in those areas. They're generally living in the south of the city. So that's then when they can feel more free to express themselves. The people living at home, people living with families, people living in different situations, maybe with roommates, flatmates, housemates that they don't know, are living in other parts of the city. They're living in northern parts of the city, or they're living above Fratton. I think it's weird when we say northern parts of the city, and actually you just mean past Fratton Station. And they didn't want to come to things on their doorstep, because there's the risk of being outed. There's very little risk of being outed when you're going to an event in Victoria Park, because it's Victoria Park. The whole city can be in Victoria Park if you want to. The whole city can be on Southsea Common if they want to. Like, it's perfectly reasonable that people from anywhere across the city and wider would be in one of the city's central parks, or in a cafe, or on the beach, like in those kind of like leisure places that people tend to go. But if you go to a queers only crafting workshop in the community centre in Cosham, and then Auntie Julie happens to be dropping somebody off a dance class at the same time, and then tells mum that I saw them at this queers only thing that was happening down in the hall that they didn't approve of, there's your risk. Yeah. So I think it's right when organisations are challenged on what they're doing for people in the north of the city, but I don't think just popping activity down in the north of the city is the answer to that. It's about how do we engage people from the north of the city in the work that's going on regardless of where it's taking place. How do we build better transport links for activities that are taking place in other areas of the city? You know, Portsmouth's main arteries, it's really interesting. You can look at the map of Portsmouth, and we have those big trunk roads coming down like arteries that all lead to Gunwharf.
Yeah.
That's where the roads lead. And then we've got a couple of routes that go across the middle that kind of take you from those big trunk roads, the seafront, and then Goldsmith Avenue and Winston Churchill Avenue. Like, you've got a couple of those big key routes, but all of the public transport, like, I don't drive, I do public transport everywhere. Everything is via the city centre.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, a question I have, I've never known the answer to. Why is it Pride? Why is it called Pride? Why is the word Pride used?
Ooh, good question. I don't know. The movement started in the 70s. Really, I mean, if you want to trace the history back of LGBTQ plus people, you can go back very far. But what we call like that modern LGBTQ or LGBT civil rights movement starts in the 70s. It was probably been called Pride since about then. I don't really know. The very early marches weren't Pride marches. They were March on Washington, March on this. You know, they were Harvey Milk in San Francisco, gathering people together to protest. That was the point of the movement originally. So, you know, the Stonewall riots, which come a few years later after some of that initial work, aren't a Pride parade. They're not Pride. They're Stonewall riots. And then protest marches in New York and in Washington, in San Francisco and in London, then coming over and creating those first London marches. I don't know if the first London one would have been London Pride, or if it was might have been the National LGBT March. I'm not entirely sure. But the rainbow flag has always been the symbol.
Yeah.
So I think the flag came before the name. Because the flag we know is the Gilbert Baker version that was created for Harvey Milk in the late 70s. Yeah.
I didn't know.
It was invented, the rainbow flag. It's why Portsmouth Pride uses 8 colours in our rainbow, not 6. You're looking around the office.
Yeah,
so not that one.
Yeah,
that's the FARC. So that's FARC's rainbow,
Yes.
and FARC uses a different rainbow to the rainbow. But like the acronym of the rainbow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Richard of York gave battle in vain. 7.
I didn't know that. I thought
But
I knew it.
the NHS uses a 6-stripe rainbow. You know, when the NHS was using the rainbow during COVID, that was 6 stripes. That was red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. Because indigo and violet, people don't really know the difference between. And Gilbert Baker's original flag was an 8-stripe rainbow, so it's on that one behind you. So each of the letters, the colours in the word Pride is 8 different colours. So that's the original Pride flag. So Harvey Milk went to Gilbert Baker and said, we need a symbol to unify the community and for people to march underneath. And that 8-stripe rainbow flag was created and then produced. And then as it got into wider production, 2 of the colours were really expensive or really difficult to get and to source. So that's where it got shortened to the 6. And then the flag's developed and grown over time. People change it all the time. And it's not for any one person to decide that they don't accept something. It's not, we don't get together as all of the people across the world and take a big vote on this. It just morphs and changes. So the original 8 colours all stood for something. There was sex and life and earth, and each colour had a meaning behind it, which we've kind of lost now. We don't really use that anymore.
Okay, just the symbol of the flag.
Yeah, but we use 8 stripes in our branding because we wanted to reflect back to that original flag, and then we recreated a giant one last year for UK Pride.
Nice.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so great. Now, how does the group then deal with negative narratives that come up? How do you deal with them? Do you just let them slide, or do you full force speak against them?
Depends where it is, I think is a really important piece to that. Social media, our volunteers don't engage. So if we get negativity coming through that you can tell is vitriolic, it's nasty.
Okay, yeah.
It's intentionally divisive and nasty. People posting things on social media, like when we share things, we don't engage with those, and we do go through and remove lots of the comments, because that can be really damaging for people broader in the community to see that. Doesn't mean we want to brush it away and ignore all of it, because actually it's important for people in the community to know that those people exist out there. So we remove some comments, but not all. But our volunteers don't engage. Our volunteers are volunteers. Can you imagine your volunteer job being to go through social media and try to represent an organisation that's trying to be professional, that's trying to work with civic organisations and in the corporate world and across community groups and be respected in the city? You've got to hold that professional mindset behind you and then respond to these people that have no responsibility to be civil, professional, balanced, unbiased, self-educating. We can't ask volunteers to do that. It would be horrendous to ask them to do that. So we generally don't respond to that sort of stuff. What we do is work behind the scenes with companies and with civic organisations. So we work a lot with the local authority, we work with the local NHS, we work with library services and schools and etc. So if something's coming out that is negativity that we want to respond to, or an issue that's come up in the world within our remit that we want to respond to or talk about or educate people on or support with, that's the way that we do it. So it's not this really visible thing where we're shouting and screaming at everybody, because actually you're not going to get anywhere from that. We're working with organisations a lot more on that kind of messaging. It was really interesting last year for UK Pride. We had this conversation with a lot of the partners that all decided they wanted to do something for UK Pride, that maybe weren't expecting the level of hate on their social media. So the giant flag that we made, we went and hung it up on loads of big landmarks all across the city to create this big video, which was really cool. And the Royal Marines then played music over the top of it, and they knew that this is what they were doing. The Royal Marines were part of the flag tour, and the Royal Navy's LGBT network was connected into it. But we hung the flag down one of the legs of the Spinnaker Tower, and we hung it from the balcony in both of the theatres all the way down to the stage, and up on the front of the Queen's Hotel, and around the Square Tower, and along the International Port, and on the pitch up at Pompey and the Community's new stadium. Like, we took this thing everywhere. Some of those businesses and venues would then post about it and then receive tons and tons and tons and tons of hate. And there's loads of different schools of thought on how you deal with that. Some people, like us, didn't engage, deleted the worst of the worst that really shouldn't be out there in the public sphere, and kind of left it to it. Some people turn comments off on things like that and just were like, we're putting this out there, but we're not giving you a platform to have this conversation, because it's not a debate. There's no rational thought going on in these arguments. And other people, let the comments flow. they kept it there, and then they went through and found some of these people's employers, or some of the organisations we were working with are like businesses in the leisure and tourism sector in the city that went through and found these people's names and barred them from being ever able to book things because they don't align to the values.
Yeah.
Like, so there's so many different ways of dealing with online hate, but yeah, for me and my volunteers, it's you don't give your brain capacity over to something like that. If people wanted to have a structured debate and a real conversation, they could do that, but in the Facebook comments advertising that the parade applications for community groups is now open is not the place to do that.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Big up. Big up. Because I did hear some, some negatives comments that were put out, and then people were just, I didn't know how to deal with them. So yeah, that is understandable.
Yeah.
Okay. So, where do you see this year blossoming? I mean, we already said, but do you guys plan, as in like 5 years, 10 years?
Threes.
Threes?
We were Portsmouth Pride comes in threes.
Okay.
Right, playing footsie under the table. Portsmouth Pride comes in threes. The charity was formed in 2017. The Portsmouth Pride Trust that exists now was 2017. Portsmouth Pride existed before then. We did not start it. It was not a unique idea. It was not an original concept. Pride in some ways existed in Portsmouth since the 90s, is about what we can find in archive footage and photos of a Portsmouth and Southsea Pride Festival around 94 that we've seen some bits of. If anybody's watching and has older stuff or photos of anything from around that time, I would love to see it. We've had Pride in Portsmouth consistently, so as in every year as an annual thing, since 2015. 2015-16, it was not run by the Portsmouth Pride Trust, it was run by a group of friends. That was my phone falling out of my pocket. 2015-16 wasn't us as the charity, it was run by a group of friends who owned a venue. They put on a paid, ticketed, fenced Pride event, 2015 and 16. They ran out of money very quickly and realised that was unsustainable and not what the community wanted. So Tally set up the Portsmouth Pride Trust in 2017, and we delivered 3 free and unfenced prides between the bandstand and then Castle Field, 2017, 18, 19. COVID, 20, 21, 22. Build to UK Pride, 23, 24, 25. Now, 6, 7, 8. So we're currently at the start of the next planning cycle. So at the start of 2023, we were planning the bid, the funding, the programme, the delivery of UK Pride 2025, and working out how we delivered Portsmouth Pride 2023 and Portsmouth Pride 2024. Now we're doing that same thing. So this next triennium, 3 years, is about stabilising us as an organisation. Every host city of UK Pride, up until us, in some way, drastically, after hosting, dissolved, went away, had to drastically change their work and their event to stay afloat. Horrendous. Like, it's kind of a poison chalice, the title and hosting, because people throw so much at it. You use up all of your support to deliver the best UK Pride, and you use up loads of your money to do it because it costs so much money to make these big things happen. We've not done that, and we're actually in a decently strong position for 2026 and 2027. What it means in practice is people will see not what they saw in 2025 for UK Pride, because that was special for UK Pride. Now, this is Portsmouth Pride. This is making sure that this is what the community want and what's impactful and proportionate to the money that we've got and the resource that we've got through our volunteers as well. So yeah, we're quite far into planning for 2026 at the moment, but we're already looking ahead to, like, budgets are relatively set for 2027, and we're now looking ahead at 2028 planning. And this is all about stabilising us as a charity. We're changing our structures at the moment, so we're taking in trustees from outside our volunteer world. It's the first time we've done that. 2 are joining us really soon, and we'll hopefully have more joining us in the summer. The volunteering structure has changed completely as well to better reflect how modern people want to volunteer and have capacity to, and the skills and why people volunteer has changed drastically from before COVID and during COVID. So we've got to have a better structure that reflects that. And we've got to kind of stabilise the income as well. Income for lots of voluntary organisations really fluctuates, and you see other prides around the country a month before their main day event is happening, and these are some prides that only deliver a main day event, that's all they do, saying we're 15 grand short. That would never happen at Portsmouth Pride because we have really good financial controls and we work on our budgets properly. So that just wouldn't be able to happen at that kind of short notice. But we are still victims of that same kind of fluctuating model of some funding. Some of our funding is year to year to year. Some of our funding works in 3-year cycles, which is why we can plan. People that give to us for a commitment of 3 years allow us to do that 3-year planning. If we only know we've got money to cover next year, we can't plan for beyond that. So we're really grateful, and it's a lot of the bigger businesses in the city that give us money and give us a commitment that they'll continue giving us money for 2, 3, 5 years. It's the only reason we're as strong as we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. CP. It's been really interesting. I've learned quite a lot. I really have. I've just been silent, sitting there listening. I'm just like, wow, interesting.
I do radio shows and podcasts and stuff, and I can quite happily just talk.
It's great. It's fantastic. But I thoroughly enjoyed today. Good. I really did, and I'm looking forward to part 2, showing you the question. But again, thank you for taking the time and sitting with us today. Really appreciated it, and really look forward to seeing what happens next. And
make sure you come into Portsmouth Pride, 6th of June 2026.
Nice. Put it in the diary. Hell yeah. All right. Well, that's it. That's a wrap. Cool. CP, welcome to part 2.
Thank you.
This is the part where we go out into the street, and obviously we go into the street, lovely Portsmouth, and we ask a question. You don't have any idea what the question's going to be. Love that. And feel free to stop at any time. Feel free to watch it till the end. 2 minutes, I believe. Mm-hmm. But let's do part 2.
Let's do it.
Do you think Portsmouth is inclusive?
Inclusive? I think so, yeah. Depends where you go, though.
Go on, what do you mean?
I feel like if you go like where like the stadium is, it probably gets a little bit like less inclusive. Like the further east you go, maybe the further north. But I think down here you're fine. I think it's pretty inclusive, like generally.
Do you think Portsmouth is inclusive?
Inclusive, what do you mean by that?
So like, do you think they do enough for minority groups and the rest of it?
I see, because I'm a university student, there's a lot of diversity and there's a lot of like societies that are tailored towards people. But I wouldn't know like as a whole, like as a wide like council city, is it quite diverse? But because I'm a uni student, I see it was quite diverse with a bunch of societies there are out there. So yeah.
Do you think Portsmouth is inclusive?
Yeah, I would say so.
Oh, go on.
From what I've seen.
Yeah, totally.
Do you think Portsmouth is inclusive?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, why?
Well, I see a lot of different people here. Lots of different cultures, lots of different backgrounds. So.
Do you think Portsmouth is inclusive?
Not really.
Why?
I don't know, I just feel like it's a boring place to be in.
Interesting.
Not answered the question, but okay.
Honestly, about the same. There's not really much to do if you're like just out, unless you got money, really.
Yeah,
maybe in the summer, but not right now. No. Quite.
I reckon it is, just because it's a main city. A lot of people come down here. It's a lot of traffic, a lot of foot traffic as well. I reckon just a bunch of people come down. A bunch of people come down to shop, see like the seaside, do things. I don't know. I reckon it is.
All right. So that was the question. What are your thoughts?
I'm actually really glad to hear the great people of Portsmouth think that the city's inclusive. I think it reflects probably a similar view to my own of in some areas more than others, definitely like geographically. And really great to hear about the university. Obviously the university are partners of Portsmouth Pride, but then we work really closely with the University of Portsmouth Students' Union, LGBTQ+ Society, one massive acronym when they put all of that in as well. the university does a lot of work around EDI and engages with Pride really well, and then the society through the union does as well. So that's nice to hear that students see a lot going on. Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't annoyed at it, but when I interviewed people yesterday, or whenever we did it, it was mainly students that we came across, and we didn't, we tried locals, we fought the locals, and they just didn't stop.
Yeah.
I do believe that the uni does cater for inclusivity and make sure everyone's voices are heard and etc. But I don't know, I could be wrong, and I know we spoke about it earlier, that Portsmouth as a whole, as a council, as someone referenced there, represents it. Those views entirely. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's probably people across the city that also things like the words diversity and the words culture, like what those things actually mean to a lot of like your everyday people that aren't engaging in anything like that the city are putting on, or that the cultural creative world are putting on in Portsmouth, or the leisure and hospitality set. Like if you're just not engaging in any of that stuff and you go to work and you take your kids to school and that's your life, you probably don't engage, or you might not engage with that kind of wider world that exists. But if you choose to, you see so much going on, like Urbond doing that cultural festival later in August. We've got a fringe festival now in the city. We've got a Pride that, yes, most people just see as happening once a year on one day, but then the food festival that's also so many different foods from so many different cultures, and then the Thai festival and the Kite festival and the VW festival. And it's what I actually liked about, you probably see a lot more of it through the summer, because Common Land, South Sea Common, gives us that opportunity to all come together and do a thing and enjoy it together. And that's where you see that kind of interconnected communities piece. Maybe everybody just hunkers down a little bit in winter, and then it's much harder to see.
Yeah, I mean, the weather right now outside is horrible. So
yeah, you don't want to leave your house if you don't have to.
Yeah.
Like,
it's so true. So, okay, so what I'm getting then is, okay, you listed off all them, like, great things that are going on in South Sea Common. But for those, where I'm getting at is, you only know if you know.
yeah.
And for those who even struggle to be part of a community or even be open about who they are as a person, what's your message to them?
You're right, you only know how to find community if you know, or when you know. And the most difficult thing is taking that first step, because if you take that first step and it's the wrong step, that can really damage your confidence in going out and doing it again, and in trying to find the thing that you're trying to find. I think we said it right at the start when we were speaking about Portsmouth's a really easy place to go, there's my people, that's where I can find them there, even if you can't see them now. So even if you're not at that point of going, that's where my people are, if you haven't found your people yet, it's not a reflection on you as a person or your ability to find them. It's timing, it's situation, it's circumstance. It will happen. Just persist in working out where your people are and how you can connect with them, because Portsmouth is the city where you can find your people.
I agree. I like that statement as well. It is true. You can find your people if you look for them, and you have to be persistent.
Well, you have to take the step in looking. I don't think it's as difficult as maybe when we work in the arts, and we make this case quite frequently of like accessing people who are hard to reach. They're not hard to reach at all. In the same way as communities that you want to be part of aren't hard to reach, you just don't know how to reach them. There's a difference in the language. We all get the flagship magazine that Portsmouth City Council and the Visit Portsmouth team pull together, these incredible lists, directories of things that you can get involved in across the city. How many people are actually flicking through that flagship magazine and looking at what Portsmouth City Council are doing? Because we know we collaborate with them on a lot of our work. They're doing a lot, and there's a lot going on in the city. South Sea Common, Victoria Park, Commercial Road, Palmerston Road, Cosham High Street. There's stuff going on everywhere. Mountbatten Centre, King George Playing Fields. There's stuff going on everywhere. if you say to yourself, what's going on? I don't know. Look for it. It's not just going to smack you in the face. And if your argument for I've not gotten involved and found my people, but I've also not looked for them. So come on, people. Let's be adults trying to navigate the world and taking some responsibility for finding my own social connection and my own satisfaction in life and my own kind of multifaceted life as well. Where do you find that? Those people are your network of resilience, and they're your people that help when things go wrong, and they're your people that can advise and support. It's how we all build a social life. Just got to go out there and find them, or follow them on social media. It's not got to be about these printed publications, but I always like Flagship as an example because it is literally posted through your door. Every single person that pays Portsmouth City Council tax is getting a Flagship magazine with what's on in the city. And also there was other, I didn't realise until I started presenting on Express FM, I didn't listen to Express FM that much. Now I listen to it a lot more because I like listening to the other shows. The advert breaks on local radio are telling you so much more about what's on than Capital UK or Heart or, even BBC Radio Solent as a relatively local. Express FM does great work at like celebrating what's on this weekend, what's free, what's coming up, where you can access other services as well. It's not just about the kind of touristy leisure things. It's clubs and activities and things that you might be able to get your parents or your aunties and uncles involved in. So I think if you're consuming enough media like this in the local area, you'll see what's going on locally. If you choose not to engage in being part of the Portsmouth life, you can not be part of the Portsmouth life. But that's not anything on Portsmouth, because actually Portsmouth wants you to be part of the life.
Yeah, just open the door and go for it.
Yeah.
Or get on your phone and search.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's what I love about the summer. Walk down Southsea Common in the summer, you'll find something.
Yeah, 100%.
You even actually not even just during the summer, like through the year, you find like the slacklining club, and there's like some LARPers guild that are just down on Southsea Common, like around the skate park. It's how I got involved in being part of Battler and the drumming group, because I'd seen them at things and was like, yep, that's cool, let's go and get involved. And you Google it, or you send somebody a message on Facebook, or you slide into someone's DMs on Instagram, or you put a comment on the TikTok video. You do something of like, this is cool, how do I join? Then you find out.
Yeah. I get that. Amazing. So, any other thoughts on the question?
I would have loved to have seen some like older people's views on like, do they think Portsmouth's inclusive? Because maybe we see a bias, like in the political left, maybe we see a bias of right-wing fascism, fascist-esque protest, and this like vitriol coming from the media. And maybe because we're consuming left-wing media, we see right-wing media because it's seen as a response, and it's seen as this, dog-cat fight all the time. So we see more of it than is out there. I hope we see more of it that's out there, but I think it's most likely the other way around, that there are some silent people out there that either think Portsmouth is too inclusive and want to see it, less diverse, or don't think it's inclusive, don't know what to do about it, and don't know where to find help. It's those people that I feel for.
Yes, those people as well who I was hoping we'd come across, but not putting a stereotype, but we couldn't find any older generation folk. But, if they are out there, we want to hear what you say.
And some of them are in our teams as well. This is the nice thing about Pride. We used to be quite a young team. We were like majoritively like under 35 as volunteers. Now it's a massive spread, and we're really glad to have volunteers from like 18-year-old university students that want to get involved and work with us, up to retired folks and people that are caring for families that maybe can't commit to volunteering as much, but they're still part of our community, still part of our family, and want to get involved. That's a way for people to find their tribe. We quite frequently find people come to the city from moving with parents, partners, study, work, and want to get involved in the LGBTQ plus community, but don't want to do it through alcohol. come and volunteer with Pride. That's how you can instantly meet a group of 50 or so LGBTQ plus people or allies that socialise regularly and are doing something for the community.
I get it. I hear it.
Big up
Well,
volunteerism.
yeah, volunteerism. Moving back. So, yeah, CP. That brings us to a nice close, I
Aw.
think. Yeah, that was really good. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it today.
Good.
Yeah, I've actually learned a lot. I was like, oh, wow. But again, I look forward to following you and watching what happens next with the Pride team. And yeah, thank you again for giving us your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Lovely. We'll catch you in the next.
The next one.